You ever come across that one manga that you haven't really heard anyone talking about but decide to give it a read and it ends up being pretty damn good? Well, Hell's Paradise was that manga for me, and so today, let me tell you why you should read it now. So, Hell's Paradise was a manga that was serialized in Shonen Jump Plus for a total of 13 volumes and was created by Yuji Kaku. So what initially drew me to this manga was its interesting sounding plot in which the shogunate of Japan sends a bunch of death row convicts, including our main protagonist, Gabimaru, with their executioners to a mysterious island in an attempt to find the elixir of immortality so they can get pardoned. However, once they get there, they realize all hell has broken loose. So, sounds pretty cool. And this, for me, came at a time when I had just managed to get all caught up in Kingdom, and so was looking for a complete story that had finished, and so this was the manga for me. So let's talk about it. Firstly, the art is really good, and this is on full display once we get to the island and we are greeted by all the twisted demons with their Buddhist influence. The fight scenes are gritty with blood pouring out of the enemies and limbs flying off, which also reminds me this manga is violent. Don't be tricked by the Shonen Jump publisher. This manga would probably be considered a seinen in terms of the gore and nudity in it, which there's quite a bit of, to be wary of that. This is probably not the manga to read on the commute to work, or maybe it is. But yeah, the art is great, and the only complaint I would have is in some of the very heavy action scenes. It's sometimes hard to see what's going on, and I find myself scanning the page a few times to see what's going on. Now, that might just be me and my small brain not understanding, but yeah, overall very good. So, upon arriving on the island, it introduces many different characters, which can be quite overwhelming at first as you're jumping from chapter to chapter, character to character. But don't worry, because a lot of them don't last very long, as you'll quickly realize the manga is very unforgiving with the characters, and for the first bit, it does feel like a bit like a battle royale with samurais and criminals. It's pretty cool. And so, we have our main character Gabimaru, who's a ninja who wants a pardon so he can reunite back with his wife. He's a great character, although a bit bland, but I especially like the sort of dichotomy of when we are with other characters. They all talk about how Gabimaru, he's some sort of ruthless killer who has murdered countless people, but when we are with him, he's seen laughing and having fun, and this is mainly attributed to our second sort of main character, Sagiri. Now, how about the other characters? Well, they're pretty cool, although some of them, again, are a bit bland. They do develop as the story goes on, albeit very predictably. However, one character I especially like, who's definitely one of the better characters in the manga, is Shion. He's a very cool blind swordsman who, after an unfortunate event, has to look after one of the criminals, in which they develop a close bond, a sort of lone wolf and cub kind of relationship, which is very cool to see, and how it develops throughout the story, not only in his abilities, but his views on criminals and such. Now, as the manga goes on, it gets a lot more complex with its themes, especially when the idea of Tao comes into play. At face value, it is just the power system in Hell's Paradise. It definitely goes beyond that with its religious and philosophical roots as the manga goes on, which again is really nice, especially that the mangaka managed to contain this in a reasonable short story at 127 chapters, which I mean isn't that short, but compared to some shonens, One Piece, this is pretty short as far as shonens go, and definitely feels like the mangaka planned it out and knew what he wanted to tell and how to get there, which is really refreshing to see, as so many times, especially with shonens, they start really good, you can tell the mangaka's planned a bit of it, but as it gets more and more popular, maybe with pressure from the higher-ups, due to the popularity of the manga, they have to keep drawing, and you know its writing starts to dip and become not that good. As much as I like Bleach, it is a clear example of this, where the Soul Society arc was amazing, but sadly dragged on when it went into the everlasting Aizen arc. So again, it's nice to see that the manga, even though it was the most popular manga series in the Shonen Jump Plus serialization, it still decided to end when it did. Now, if I had to give some criticism to the manga, it would be that the Tao, the sort of power system, becomes pretty much the explanation for a lot. And sure, while the mangaka doesn't need to explain everything, it does feel that everything gets resorted to it's because of Tao without much explanation. Now, this could be because after reading Hunter x Hunter, I don't think any other shonen comes close to its power system and its explanation. But yeah, but now, there's a lot more to this manga, but I think that's good enough for now. And so, if any of this seemed interesting to you, then please do give it a read. while it does have some problems, it's still an enjoyable read, great art, and again, with an anime adaptation that's coming really soon, now is a better time than any to try it out. And so, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.